So it appears that every flavour of Space Marine will be able to access all the new detachments. We've got the new special rule for the Jump Pack Intercessors, and a couple of big confirmations for new Space Marine detachments. Let's take a look through the latest previews. Hello and welcome back to Warspets Tactics, where today we're talking Space Marines once more, and Games Workshop has indeed been keeping the previews coming thick and fast. I feel like with 2 previews dropped in 1 week, there's a pretty reasonable chance that we get the announcement of Codex Space Marines coming this weekend, and it's probably going to be coming out for pre-order the next week. Hopefully it won't be too much longer before we get the full picture, and we can put things in context with any changes to datasheets and points and things. These previews from Warhammer community mainly seem to agree with the prior leaks, again giving them even more credence, though they do seem to have been right so far. Always nice to have some things confirmed though, and they did give us a few more hints as to other chapters using the detachments and Intercessor special rules. Otherwise, Games Workshop do seem to be going through the detachments one by one. So far they've mentioned the first company one and the ones that seem to be themed around the Salamanders type detachment, but in this one it looks like we're getting the first look at the Stormlance detachment that's sort of themed around the White Scars, and the Vanguard Spearhead that looks like it's loosely for Raven Guard. Of course though, in the new Space Marine Codex, as they've said multiple times now, no one chapter is locked to any one detachment. You could say play Ultramarines playing any of these if you'd liked, or the same for literally any of the other chapters out there. I think for most people though, generally expecting armies like Blood Angels, Black Templars and Dark Angels to probably be able to access these. It looks like Games Workshop might have given us some soft confirmation of that this time. There's a quote from their Warhammer community article saying that in the upcoming Space Marine Codex, 7 detachments can be adopted by any chapter that sees fit, and that sentence comes right after talking about Blood Angels' jump pack assault units, so very much seems like they're talking about the Divergent Chapters in that quote and not just the first founding ones or any of their successor chapters. I think it would have been nice if they'd gone the whole hog and actually told us 100% whether or not the Divergent Chapters 100% could or not, and said specifically Blood Angels and Dark Angels could. But I feel like just from the language they're using in that initial quote to introduce the article, it seems very unlikely that they won't be able to. Certainly seems to be good news for the other Divergent Chapters if so, as well as already having more detachments than any other army bar Tyranids in 40k right now has to choose from. They'll also be able to gain another 6 more. Potentially really quite a lot of list building type options that they'll have, given that each one of them comes with really quite significantly different unit options, some of which are very strong indeed. And then they'll be able to apply those unit options to 6 different detachments as well as the 2 that they have access to already, and one of those could be very interesting for certain units potentially. Sounds like you might be able to have a Black Templar one running the Iron Hand style detachment that we saw leaked the other day, and maybe make use of their very efficient unique Gladiator and Impulsor type datasheets. I feel like the Stormlance task force that Games Workshop previewed today as well seems like a good fit for armies like Black Templars, Space Wolves or Blood Angels. Getting everything advanced and charge all the time seems pretty amazing when you've got good units to be putting them into combat with. A bunch of their melee units just maybe feel a little bit more impressive than the core Codex Space Marine ones at present. If this does turn out to be true though, I can't help but think there might be some concerns about the Divergent Chapters just becoming Space Marines Plus, no detachment limitations and far more unit choices than the rest of the chapters out there, beyond people just religiously sticking to their own unique detachments for flavour purposes. I can't help but think that they might just be ranging out ahead in front of the pack. I'd kind of hope that just by playing one of the Divergent chapters doesn't give you a massive advantage over standard Space Marines when everything shakes out, though I guess we'll have to wait and see. Otherwise, another small confirmation that they gave us was the special rule for the jump intercessors called Hammer of Wrath. In all honesty, this was exactly what I was expecting for them to get. It is basically just the Assault Marine special rule being ported over to them, as they are essentially just an updated sculpt on the Assault Squad, even if Games Workshop is calling them something slightly different. Looks like the Jump Pack Intercessors just get the same Hammer of Wrath mortal wound impact hits that the Assault Marines got, which to be fair I think isn't the worst special rule in the world. At the moment you could get a 230 point unit of Assault Marines, and if you charge them into the enemy then they start off by dealing an average of 5 mortal wounds. The rule is that for each model that ends up with an engagement range, you have a 4+ chance to deal 1 mortal wound to the enemy unit, which can stack up really quite a lot. You could even average slightly more than that out of an attached character as well, if you can get them all into engagement range without them move blocking each other or anything. Otherwise though, I can't help but think the rest of their stats might be a slight downgrade on the current Assault Squad datasheet. They won't be able to get a second damage 2 weapon in the unit due to not having the Eviscerator models, and I suspect that they probably won't gain any extra attacks over the regular Assault Intercessors on foot. They already have 4 the same as the Assault Marine datasheet currently. I guess it's not impossible that they might have a small points decrease for that reason though. If they're basically the same unit but have lost a little bit of gear, I guess it would probably be reasonable enough to drop their points very slightly, though I still think they probably wouldn't be terrible even if they didn't. Otherwise, they previewed 2 of the new detachments that we hadn't seen officially from Games Workshop yet. The Stormlance Task Force is the one that's very loosely themed around White Scars, representing fast-moving assault and bikes apparently. Their detachment rule is Lightning Assault, advance and charge for any enemies in your army, and also fall back and charge as well. It really does cement it being a detachment that is really focused around melee, as you're not getting anything out of that for shooting units for the most part. And indeed, it doesn't seem to be limited to any one unit class. You could use this on bikes like Outriders and the new fast-moving jump pack Intercessors, and potentially have some fairly ludicrous charge ranges. But from the past, it can be just as powerful for slower moving troops, things like Blade Guard veterans or Terminators on foot, addressing perhaps one of their biggest weaknesses with getting into the fight. Again, as mentioned earlier, I do feel like that's going to be fairly scary to think of things like Blood Angels, Black Templars or Space Wolf units getting permanent advance and charge. That does seem pretty terrifying. Otherwise, their previewed stratagem for 1CP was Wind Swift Evasion. This was one that we saw leaks, a reactive movement of 6 inches if an enemy unit moves within 9 inches of that enemy unit, and basically this confirms it to be a massively empowered version of the squad tactics stratagem from Gladius. It's not locked to infantry or anything, and you always get the full 6 inches even if you're not in tactical doctrine. I think in this detachment this is going to be one that's played literally all the time. There's just awesome potential for shenanigans, like trying to backpedal from oncoming enemy melee units, or shifting your unit around to hide from some scary enemy shooting and keep them safe. It's going to be somewhat in the opponent's control a little bit, as they'd have the choice as to whether or not they move within 9 inches of you. But in a way, even if you're controlling their movement like that, or really having to make them think about it quite a lot, it definitely adds a bit of pressure. Definitely a very nice stratagem. Otherwise, from the previous leaks rules from this detachment, there was a 1 command point 1 for -1 to hit and wound a fly or mounted unit, a very powerful reactive defensive stratagem there. That seems like you could make a pretty tanky unit of jump intercessors, or even something like a Space Marine flyer potentially. And again, if these ones do apply to the other Divergent chapters, this seems like it could be pretty enormous for either Blood Angels or Space Wolves. Blood Angels getting -1 to hit and wound on the well-armoured Sanguinary Guard, or their pretty dangerous and at least fairly cheap Death Company seems amazing, or Space Wolves getting it on Thunderwolf Cavalry seems downright scary if they're remaining 30 points. It is a counter-shooting one, as it's only against enemy ranged attacks, but even so that seems very powerful. Finally, the Elite's enhancement that we saw as well was pretty interesting, allowing their units to arrive from Strategic Reserve 1 round early, so potentially a first turn arrival on the flanks for a big range shooting unit if you wanted it to be, or even potentially threatening something like a turn 1 rapid ingress from a unit like Terminators perhaps. If you put a unit with Deep Strike into Strategic Reserve, then it is allowed to arrive via its Deep Strike rules. Again, that could be pretty terrifying as a big Alpha Strike thing. Overall, from these first initial teasers, I feel like there's a lot to like about this detachment. Seems like it could be more useful for the Divergent chapters on paper compared with the core codex though, given the powerful assault units that they get. Finally, we've got the Vanguard style Vanguard Spearhead. This one's the one that's loosely themed around guerrilla warfare, range shooting, and Phobos units. And this preview does indeed confirm that the detachment rule is the same as the leaks one, -1 to hit and cover at greater than 12 inches, and it does indeed apply to all Astartes units, not just say infantry or Phobos or anything like that. It does feel very similar to the 9th edition Raven Guard rules, if anything maybe slightly more powerful in a way, as there's no restrictions for making it worse for vehicles or anything. Though as in 8th and 9th edition, it's a rule that's going to be powerful against some things but less against others. For example, melee armies just don't care about that rule whatsoever, it doesn't affect them. Often cover savers aren't really all that hard to acquire in Warhammer 40k, though it certainly makes your positioning a bit more free if you want to move around and still get cover. Though admittedly it could be pretty punishing to gunline armies, particularly ones that usually hit on a ballistic skill 4+, going down from a 4 to a 5 is a lot more painful than a 3 to a 4. It doesn't seem bad, but definitely feels like a rule that's going to be far more useful against some armies compared with all. Otherwise, their preview detachment is a 1 command point for Strike from the Shadows. This is one where you get better ballistic skill and AP against one enemy unit that's greater than 12 inches away. Though you can only target Adeptus Astartes infantry units with this, so it's not just any big massive tank gunline unit in your arsenal there. I feel like it's rarely going to be a bad choice. A +1 to hit in the first place is usually good. I feel like it's maybe not the single most obvious one with what you'd like to maximise with it though. You can only use it on enemies that are greater than 12 inches away, so closer range shooting things are maybe a little bit less ideal. I guess things like Las Cannon or Grav Cannon Devastators seem okay, maybe Hellblasters, or maybe even a big unit of Centurions. It would be a bit weird if Raven Guard suddenly returned to favouring their Centurions that they've liked deep striking in 9th. Finally, from the prior leak, we did have a couple more rules beyond that. The other stratagem that we got leaked was the 1 command point to return an infantry unit or 2 Phobos units to strategic reserve at the end of the enemy turn. Kind of similar to Grey Knight style shenanigans there, and that one's usually nice to have. Means that an out of position unit can just keep up the pressure on the opponent. And it can be very nice for just jumping around the board, doing late game secondaries, or getting to primary objectives. The other really big one was that apparently one of the enhancements allows a leader to confer the Infiltrators rule to the unit. That one again is definitely taking a leaf out of the previous Raven Guard rules. You could have a massive unit of Terminators or some scary Blade Guard, or even perhaps some Vanguard Veterans or Jump Intercessors starting in the mid-board, all ready to get an alpha strike on the opponent. Might be a little bit of a double-edged sword though, and he might still need to play carefully. You wouldn't know whether your opponent will be getting first turn at that point, and you want to be able to put your unit in a place where it's going to do the alpha striking and not just get a high investment unit killed on the enemy turn because it's too close. In any case, a few more details and confirmations, maybe not the most massive reveals ever compared with the leaks that we already have, but good to get them actually confirmed as it's not just rumours anymore. Let me know what you make of the changes and rules. Personally, I do quite like the look of that Stormlance detachment, having had a second look at the stratagems and the core rule. Again, if as implied it does seem that you can get that for the Divergent Chapters, I feel like Blood Angels and Space Wolves and Black Templars all could find that interesting. Will be fun to see what other rules it brings. In any case, if you enjoyed the video, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics. I'll certainly keep the regular 40k videos coming. I'll certainly cover any more news that we get of the new Marine Codex, whether it's from Games Workshop or leaks. Finally, if you have been enjoying all the videos on the channel, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page as well, and you can find that linked in the video description if you'd like to help keep all these coming. Making all the videos every day does take a fair amount of time and effort. Channel patrons do get a few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things happen next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.